1,
2,
3,
4.
Monster movie.
Fun time, go! Monster movie.
Fun time, go. Monster.
Movie.
Fun time.
Go!
Monster movie. Fun time, go.
With Precious D and Honeybee.
Fun time, go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, welcome to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. 31 Days of the Dead. Day 8. I am your host, Precious D, and with me today is my regular co-host and best friend, Honeybee.
Heyo!
And Honeybee has a friend with her. Who do you have with you today, Honeybee?
Today, I have my brother Gus. Say hello to the people.
What's up, party people?
Gus was with us 2 years ago when he and Honeybee did the 4 Jeepers Creepers movies for 31 Days of Horror, because we weren't using a theme that year, so it was just any old horror movie. But this year it's zombies, and today we're talking about technically not zombies in the movie 28 Days Later.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is one of the best zombie movies of all time, and if you don't think so, fight me in the street.
I say technically not zombies because they are not dead. They're not the living dead, but they are living humans who act just like zombies because they're infected with a rage virus.
It's a new social norm.
Don't want to eat your brains. They want to eat your face, but not your brains. They want to bite you, punch you, but they've lost all rational thought. They're just filled with an all-consuming rage, and they don't even seem to be able to use weapons. They just bite and punch and
stick their thumbs in your eyes.
Yes. I will say these are the best kind of zombies because I think they don't die. Because they don't die. Because it happens instantaneously. It's so quick. It's so vicious.
Within
It's
10
so
seconds.
good. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah, you have about 10 seconds, and that's it at the most.
I mean, if there was ever
This
any
is
kind of medically correct zombie, it'd probably be a rage zombie. So that's terrifying in and of itself.
Yeah. Let's do a few stats before we get too much into the movie. It's from 2002, directed by Danny Boyle, written by Alex Garland. It stars Cillian Murphy as Jim, Naomi Harris as Selena, Brendan Gleeson as Frank, Megan Burns as Hannah, Christopher Eccleston, my least favorite Doctor Who, as Major Henry West, Noah Huntley as Mark, Stuart McQuarrie as Sergeant Farrell, Richie Harnett as Corporal Mitchell, Leo Bill as Private Jones, Luke Mabley as Private Clifton, Junior Lannian as Private Bell, Ray Panthaki as Private Bedford, Sanjay Rambaruth as Private Davis, and Marvin Campbell as Private Mailer. Various extras as enraged, not quite zombies. Yeah, there's a lot of people in this that I didn't know who they were when it first came out, and it's been a long time since I watched it, but they've done a whole lot of stuff since, particularly Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, and Brendan Gleeson. They've all been in a lot of good movies. Of course, Christopher Eccleston, as I said, became Doctor Who in the revival series.
And you said he was your favorite?
That season, and I say it was my least favorite.
Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking with you.
We'll not go down a rabbit hole on that. It was followed up by the sequel 28 Weeks Later, and 28 years later is now in post-production. They've completed principal filming, and it is due out next year.
About bloody time.
There's also, you got to wait a few years, you know?
Yeah, 28 years apparently.
Apparently they have been talking about it since like 2007. There's also been a few comic books that expand, so Guys, what are your initial thoughts here on 28 Days Later?
Well, I mean, if there's ever an iconic zombie movie, it's got to be 28 Days Later. I mean, rage zombies, the fact that they don't slow down, they're not walkers, they're incredibly smart for a zombie. I mean, they do use tools. They stop when they know they're not going to catch you. Like, if there's ever a terrifying zombie, it's a rage zombie.
Yeah, these are definitely my favorite zombies. This is easily my favorite zombie movie, just for the fact of how intense and quick it happens. This movie particularly, I've been watching religiously since 2002. I said before in our Shaun of the Dead episode, we were huge zombie fans. We were always talking about what we were going to do when zombies actually happened, what our roles were going to be, how we were going to survive. We were always waiting for the zombie apocalypse, especially in from 2002 to 2009. It was definitely a big deal for us. This movie in particular is just so brilliant in the way that it makes you fall in love with these people, makes you kind of see the actual fear, the scariness of an outbreak like this. I remember when COVID first started happening, this was the first thing I thought of was just how quick something can spread and destroy everything. 28 days, it takes 28 days for entire cities to fall. So I love it. I love it. I love it. What are your initial thoughts?
And I believe the original title was just 28 Days, but they added the word later because there's a Sandra Bullock movie called 28 Days about human recovery. And they didn't want to confuse the two movies, which I have seen that one. I think I saw it on a bus.
It's really good.
It came out in 2000. One of my first notes, first note is Test Lab, but the second note is Day of the Triffids. This movie is very similar to Day of the Triffids, but apparently that's on purpose. That is one of the writer's influences. And
I don't know what Day of the Triffids is.
You've seen the movie. Yeah,
For the show?
You've seen the movie. We did an episode. Yeah, we did a Patreon episode.
Do not remember it.
About it.
Must have been pretty bad then.
No, it's great, but it's based on a book. There's been 3 adaptations of it, but we watched the one from the 60s that is referenced in science fiction double feature. But, I really got hot when I saw Janet Scott fight a Triffid that shoots poison and kills. It's not ringing any bells. Day of the Triffids.
Shout out to all my girls with dissociative disorders.
There's been a worldwide cataclysm that happens overnight, and our lead character kind of missed it because he was in the hospital. Just like this guy. He wasn't in a coma. He had there's a thing that happens that if anybody that was watching these lights in the sky went blind, but the lead character was in the hospital with bandages on his eyes because he'd been injured. So
yeah, okay.
When the bandages come off, he's one of the few. Yeah, he's one of the few people. There's a few other people that, for one reason or another, didn't see it and are not blind, but most of the world has gone blind. So both of these movies, start out with somebody waking up in the hospital having missed the disaster.
Yeah, he kind of got his.
It's also
what is it? Mila Jokovich's moment of waking up and we see his little weenie.
Yeah. Naked in a unpleasant medical context, not in a sexy context. Just like Mila is constantly doing. So the movie starts though with these animal rights activists breaking into a test lab, thinking they're going to free some test animals. This guy's trying to stop them because he's like, no, they're the chimpanzees. They're infected. You can't let them out. Not because I disagree with your animal rights stuff, but because they're infected. You cannot let them out. But they're not listening to them, and they let them out. It's
crazy too, because in the first 5 minutes of this movie, there's already so much emotion invoked because of all of the ragey shit they're showing this like chimps, right? On the TVs, on the monitors.
Yeah.
So instantly, like right out the gate, this movie is already making you feel all this crazy shit, watching this war shit, watching these humans destroy each other. I mean, I just feel like it's so brilliantly written and so brilliantly executed in that way, this film.
Yeah, it's so hardcore to like even see that stock footage. It's so gnarly in and of itself. But then like, as that fucking pulls out, you start to see that they're showing that to a chimp who's just like strapped down, being forced to watch that. And it just escalates severely on how terrible that is.
Yeah. So nobody in the movie calls it this, but in all the descriptions of the movie, they talk about the rage virus. And when the activists are confronting him, they're like, why, oh my God, this is terrible. Why are you doing this? And he says, in order to cure it, we have to understand it. And they said, understand what? And he says, rage. And I don't think they're trying to cure a rage virus. I think they're trying to work on a way to cure rage itself. They're trying to, and they may have accidentally created this virus while they're working on that cure. But I think the idea of showing all of these images to these chimps and stuff is to sort of try to pin down the causes of human rage. And if we know how to create it, then we can figure out how to stop it, how to cure it. So I think that the idea is that these scientists were well-intentioned. They weren't trying to create a weapon or a world-destroying virus. They were trying to get to the basic biological causes of people trying to fight each other all the time so that they could then cure it. But of course, it backfires.
I mean, how often have we seen the fact that, all the best intentioned scientific stuff has like gone so sideways?
But I think that's a really interesting idea that they were actually trying to stop this thing that ends up getting out and wrecking everything. Although it does seem like, at least in the first movie, that it's been contained. People in Britain are assuming it's a worldwide problem, and there are some early reports of outbreaks other places, but it does seem like it's because it's an island that it's been contained to Britain and hasn't destroyed the whole world. It's not necessarily an apocalypse. It's a small, isn't that a David Byrne song, Tiny Apocalypse? It's a tiny apocalypse. Let's see, a couple of notes I have here. Somebody spray painted on the walls, the end is extremely fucking nigh. I like that. I also wrote Pepsi, Pepsi, Pepsi.
Yes, I did not notice
all the
until this time. I was like, this is Precious's worst nightmare, to like wake up from a coma and the only thing to drink is Pepsi.
Yeah. But it's, somebody has probably made a product placement deal with Pepsi and not with Coca-Cola. So we're only seeing Pepsi products
throughout the entire film.
At one point, they mentioned no electricity, and yet we keep seeing electricity various places. So that was confusing.
I will say this church scene is something that is burned into my mind. It's such a good scene. It's kind of his first interactions, waking up and then dealing. He has no idea. He wakes up, the whole world is fucked. He has no clue. And this church scene, when he sees the priest and he says, "Father," it's so epic. When he makes the noise, he sees all of the dead people spread out throughout the pews, and he makes a noise, and like two zombies, look up at him. It's just iconic. It's an iconic scene. It's something I always think about when I think of zombie movies. And just how fucking scary is that, man? It's just terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there is like many zombie movies, the infected do not attack each other. So this, I guess the virus itself is just trying to spread itself. So there's no point in attacking something that's already. How the virus would know that, I don't know. But apparently you're not compelled to attack other infected. The only because if that were the case, it would get wiped out pretty quickly. But they're compelled to try to infect other people with their rage,
which is kind of symbolic in itself too of rage.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. So but the thing is, he wakes up and there's nobody around. Everything's just abandoned. It's trash in the streets, which they had to film at 4 a.m. because they're in the middle of London. And the thing is, though, he keeps just kind of walking by newspapers and just glancing at the headlines, whereas he should have sat down and read a full article to get a better idea of what the hell has happened. But he's just sort of wandering aimlessly.
Can you read when you first wake up out of a coma? Do you have to redevelop that skill? I don't know. I have no idea.
No, you should be able. You should.
It probably varies from person to person.
He doesn't have, as far as we know, he doesn't have any brain damage. He doesn't have any problem seeing or speaking. So he should be able to read these. I mean, he's reading things. He's just not sitting down and getting the full story. He's just kind of glancing at headlines. But one creepy thing about this, there's a thing in the middle of the road, a roundabout. There's a structure, and people have posted all these missing person notices and notes and pictures and things. The 9/11 attack happened while this movie was being filmed, and we saw that sort of thing in Lower Manhattan. I think it was Greenwich Village, the park in Greenwich Village, because you couldn't get any further down from that. It was all blocked off. But it was just this eerie mirror of a thing that was actually happening in the real world.
There's actually a really scary moment as it pans across all those things. And there's a child's drawing that's shows daddy with a shotgun and shooting mommy. It's drawn in crayon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So but when he's running away, these tend to be shorter episodes, folks. We're not going to go through every point of the plot, but he eventually hooks up with some other survivors, one of whom, one of them dies pretty quickly, but Selena is an attractive young woman who tells him, "We're not going to fall in love. That's not what's going on here." And they fall in love.
Well, they were kind of like some of the last people on Earth. We always have that. If you were the last guy on Earth talk, well, they're actually living it.
Well, she starts out with her current her attitude at the beginning is it's just surviving day to day. That's all that there is right now. If you get bitten, I won't hesitate to kill you. Keep up. I'm not going to die for you. You need to keep up. And that's her attitude. And then it slowly changes as they meet this. They meet a father and his daughter, and they start coming up with a plan. And she starts having hope as the movie goes on, and realizing that there is more than just surviving. We can try to have a good life. We can make emotional connections with people.
This is brilliant for two reasons. One, for the character building of us learning and falling in love with Selena. Two, just her character arc in general, for herself, like you said, her finding hope, her realizing what the best things in life really are. And three, because if there's a zombie apocalypse, you need to survive, right? You really do have to have that mindset of sorry, whether you're my best friend, you're my mom, you're my dad, it doesn't matter. If you get infected, you have to be killed for the greater good of the group to survive. So I love every single character and the way that they grow in this movie. Even the bad guys, like the military guys, but specifically Selena and then the dad. The dad of the girl, because there's so many moments that just make you fall in love with this man. He has that moment with the horses where he just sees his humanity and he blows them a kiss. He loves his daughter so much. The way that he welcomes them in. There's so many moments that make him so lovable, which makes it so devastating when we lose him. But I think that it's just so brilliantly done. The character building in this movie between every character, but specifically Selena and Frank.
Yeah, Frank. I also love Frank's introduction because they've seen the light on in his apartment up in the tall building, and they try to get up there. He's purposely put blinking Christmas lights in the window to let people know they're there, and they try to get up there. Of course, they're getting chased by zombies, and he shows up in like police riot gear at the top of the steps and tells them, come on. And he's got his shield and some kind of weapon, and he's going to hold the zombies back long enough for them to get in. And we can't see his face. He's got a police helmet on. And then when he comes in and he takes that helmet off, it's not some real hard ass Vin Diesel type dude. It's just this dad who's like, hey, let me put the kettle on and I'll have a cup of tea. And look, we have guests. Let's get out the nice wine and get out the good glasses, dear. Come on. And he's just such a middle-class British dad who's, concerned about, no, the nice glasses. We have company. And I just love that contrast so much.
So good.
But similar to Day of the Triffids, they travel to different parts of the countryside and meet different people who are trying to survive in different ways. This is in the book more of the movie of Day of the Triffids, that there is a sort of a military type group that has specific plans about what they're going to do to rebuild, and the heroes who come across them decide, that's not for us, and they go off and do their own thing. But it's a little darker it's not that dissimilar, because in the Day of the Triffids, the group is like, all the women must breed must breed with multiple men because we need to rebuild the genetic, we have to rebuild the gene pool as much as possible. So you can't just pick one partner and only have children with them. You got to have children with multiple partners, because that's the most efficient way to rebuild the gene pool quickly. And there's a not totally dissimilar but much nastier thing going on in this movie, where the major has just promised his men women to keep them from killing themselves out of hopelessness.
Still a dick move.
Yeah. I mean, it made sense from his point of view.
Definitely.
But and there's one of the guys is not on board with it. One of his soldiers is like, this is not appropriate. This is not right. This is not moral. I'm not participating, and I will try to stop you from doing this. And of course, he ends up dead.
And this is also kind of what pushes our main character to a level of rage that he doesn't have in the beginning of the movie. And it's so good to see his character arc going from waking up, not knowing shit, being afraid to kill someone, killing a kid zombie, sick, and then being
which is
so
the only
enraged.
one we hear talk. That kid's the only one that we hear speak, and he says, "I hate you," which I just thought was interesting.
Huh, I didn't
But
even
go ahead,
notice.
go on.
I didn't notice that he said anything.
It's very... Yeah. He, as he's got him pinned
Did you
down,
notice?
the kid says, "I hate
I
you."
did not.
Weird.
Yeah. It's a very soft and very quick.
He whispers
But yeah,
sweet
that's the
zombie
thing, though. The
nothings to
major,
him.
yes. The major at one point says, "This is, what I see? I see people killing people just like they've always done." Because, he's a soldier. He's very much aware of how much people are always killing each other. And to him, it's not that different than how we've always been, which is kind of the whole point and kind of what they were trying to cure. And then Jim goes on to kind of show that he's right, because Jim is not infected with a virus, but he does become infected with emotion. He starts when he comes to rescue the two girls, Selena and Hannah. Yeah, he turns into a rage monster because it's what he needs to do to get things done. But he almost gets killed by Naomi because foolishly he doesn't just speak up and say, "Hey, it's me, I'm okay." She almost clocks him in the head.
Well, that was right after he just shoved his thumbs in that dude's eyes.
Yeah.
And then turned around with a blank stare covered in blood.
Right. And he should have said, "Thank God you're okay," or something. He should have spoken right away. And then he's smarmy about it.
And then Hannah breaks a glass over his head when he does kiss Selena because
she doesn't know.
thinks he's biting her.
Beast.
Yeah. Oh, that was, yeah. So these basically these soldiers have a plan to just keep these two women, even though one of them is clearly a minor, as sex slaves, because the men one of the men was on the verge of killing himself because he saw no future, and women represent the future by his reason. Not that they don't represent the future, but that's his reasoning. Don't worry, I'll find you some women, and you'll be able to keep them as sex slaves. Not
Just
I'll
a
find
nice
you some
harem
women,
of
and then you
concubines.
can try to get them to like you like normal people would, and no.
Let me tell you, in the apocalypse, in the event that the zombie apocalypse happens, it's going to be way more like this than like you normally would. I hate to say it, it's true. This is very accurate. In fact, it'd probably be more violent. They'd probably do less to impress these girls. And honestly, the only reason why they did was because there was a man with them. It's just a hard truth of if the apocalypse is happening, women are going to be in even more danger than they are just in parts
So
of their
they
own,
wouldn't have even put up. Yeah, they wouldn't have even made a. They wouldn't have even made a pretense of it.
Right.
They would have just snagged him.
Oh yeah.
And he tries to convince Jim that this is the right thing and to be on board, but he has to know that it's not going to work. Yeah, there will be people like that. Not everybody will be like that, but there will definitely. So have you guys seen?
Sure.
There's two endings to this movie.
Yes.
Have you guys seen both endings?
I did watch the alternate ending.
Not this time, because I forgot about it.
Stories.
So here's the thing. I think on my DVD, because I had this on DVDs from way back, I think it just has a thing to select an alternate ending.
Mm-hmm.
But I was watching it on streaming because it was maybe going to be higher resolution. And when wherever I was streaming it, it was on Vudu. The credits play through, and then they just play the alternate ending after the credits. So that was the original ending, and then I don't know if there were test audiences exactly or what it was, but they just decided, no, let's not do a depressing ending. Let's do a happy ending.
So for those who haven't seen the alternate ending, basically Jim doesn't make it. He gets shot. The girls try to revive him. He doesn't make it. They see the plane at the end, but there's just no Jim. There is, however, a chicken.
The alternate ending that played after this version just showed Jim dying and them leaving the hospital. It didn't then continue to the two ladies being at the farm. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So
the
in
one
the
on the DVD does continue.
Okay, so but they are signaling the plane by themselves without Jim.
Yeah, and there's a chicken.
So yeah, a chicken. There's not a chicken in the other one. So it's still a hopeful ending. It's just that Jim's not there, but it's still they might get rescued. It ends with them on a farm. They've made it to the countryside, either with Jim or without Jim, depending on which version. And a plane's been going by every few days, and they've been making a big hello, a big SOS. I think they're just spelling out hello though, not SOS.
I don't know why they didn't just
They're
go
making a
help.
big
It's
sign
whole
in the
letter
field.
shorter.
They're making a big sign out in the field so that the plane will see them when it flies over. It has seen them this time. And also just the presence of a plane indicates that everything has not turned to shit.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, they're not sure if the plane has seen them, but I did have the thought of like, why don't they say help instead of hello, which is really funny. I think she just.
I think
says,
the hello was just meant. I think help would imply we're in immediate danger, whereas hello is just hi, we're here.
Yeah.
letting you know, but we're not in immediate danger.
They're in immediate danger. But I don't think the plane, I mean, obviously, it looks like the plane should have seen them, but the fact that she's like, do you think he saw us today? Makes me think that this plane is just going by every day doing the same thing.
Well, there is a moment as the plane flies
I
over
think
that
they see
the
them to the
pilot
coast.
said that we could send a helicopter in,
Nice.
but they don't know that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, what are you going to rate?
Hold on a second. Is there any notes that you took that you want to go over? Anything from the movie in particular that you want to go over?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, please jump in if you have anything you want to cover that we haven't covered.
I think most of my focus while I do love this movie, I think it was the second film that like always captured me. So I definitely took a lot of notes for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well then.
I think I just feel like, man, these movies are some of the best movies, both of them. There's just something so raw about the emotion in these movies, from the main character to the side characters to down to just the tiniest of extras, because it's just based around rage. And I think that watching these movies as a kid, when they came out, and being so jazzed like about the zombie apocalypse, compared to watching them now as an adult, it's just like, whoa, just looking at them in a different light. They're just still so brilliant. And I cannot rave enough about these movies. They are my favorites.
They truly are timeless. I mean, they may not be considered the best zombie movies to some, as like some people who like, like Land of the Dead and like, some of the more original films, but I think that the 28 Days series, being the most potentially realistic and accurate for rage zombies, which I think may be the most realistic zombie to potentially occur, God forbid they ever did, really just makes these movies shine in a way that no other zombie movie does for me. Like, literally nothing else has ever hit for me like this one does.
Yes. Maybe there is a like slight Dawn of the Dead hits in a similar way. Like, they're in a mall. It just seems very realistic. But not quite as good as this one. Not quite as good. This is just, it's so realistic. It's so raw and beautiful and horrible and all of the things.
Yes.
I'm seeing a thing here on Wikipedia about the alternate endings, and I'd forgotten this. I'll have to go back and look. It says the DVD includes 3 alternate endings, all of which conclude with Jim dying. One of these was filmed, which involved Jim dying of his gunshot wounds. In another, the outbreak is revealed to be a dream. That's lame. The third, a more radical departure. Yeah, I don't remember that at all. The third, a more radical departure, was presented only in storyboards. Instead of Frank being killed by soldiers after being infected, the other survivors tie him up and discover a research laboratory at the blockade, where Jim undergoes a blood transfusion in order to save Frank.
Holy shit.
Wow.
I'll have to pull out my DVD and see if that's on there. And then it says the U.S. cinematic release. So the U.S. cinematic release included one of the alternate endings after the film's credits in response to intense online debates over whether or not it was a more appropriate conclusion than the official ending. So I guess I can't remember now, because I think I did see this in theaters, but I guess if you sat through the credits in the theater, you would have seen that other ending.
I watched all of the special features on the DVD, and I did see that there was a few different endings, and I watched every single one of them. One of them, they show the girls trying to save Jim. Can't, so they leave. It ends. Another one, it goes all the way to the farm, and where in the original ending she's talking with Jim, she's talking to a chicken. And then Hannah runs in and is like, he's coming. And they do the same. Hello. You think he saw us this time? And then the other one was, I don't remember now, but there was nothing like crazy happening.
Well, I'll pull out my DVD later and see.
I mean, I don't know how a blood transfusion's going to help you, though.
Yeah, well, you'd have to.
I mean, it's not like
if you could do, if that
a
worked,
slow virus where you could just like chop an arm off.
if that worked, then you could cure any viral infection by just draining the blood and putting fresh blood in. But I don't think that's how transfusions work.
Sounds very vampiric.
Okay, guys, how many brains are you going to give 28 Days Later?
5 brains all the way.
Agreed. Undisputed 5 brains.
Yeah, I feel like not just for zombies, not just for movies, just all around this movie. 5 stars, 5 brains. It's just so good.
5 chickens.
5 chickens.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoy the show, please like it and subscribe. Excuse me. If you enjoy the show, please like and subscribe and rate and review wherever you're listening or watching or whatever. You can support us at patreon.com/mmftg. We will be back with another episode tomorrow, probably 28 weeks later. Until then, I have been Precious D.
I've been Honey Bee.
And I have been Gus Gus.
Remember to keep calm and take shelter in basements.
And please, don't misuse science.
And always run from the zombies.
Aim for the head. We won't see you, but you will hear us next time on Monster Movie Fun Time Go. You've been listening to Monster Movie Fun Time Go. If you enjoyed the show, please consider rating and reviewing us on your podcasting platform of choice. You can leave us a message and find links to all our things at mmftg.com.